You have to get over the fact that there's some people out there that are going to be judging you because you're out there for the other people that actually you are going to try to help. So one of your questions was strategically, I had to make some decisions. Do I brand personal name or do I brand a company name?
Welcome. You're listening to the Apartment Investing Show. This is where you'll learn how to start or scale your apartment investing career. Your host, Adam Adams, challenged himself to do a 100-day raw vegan diet, but he gave up on day 91. Adam and his guests will show you how to create residual income by investing in apartment communities. Now, here's your host, Adam AAA Adams.
I'm so excited. Darin,
Awesome.
How are you today?
Fantastic. I appreciate you having me on, Adam.
You better be fantastic. This is the Apartment Investing Show. What we do on this show is help you to become a better apartment investor. So whether you are about to get into the business or whether you've done it for a while and you just need to know what's going to get you to that next level, I think Darin Batchelder, I almost said Batchelder.
Yeah, no worries.
Darin Batchelder is on the show, and he's going to walk you through his story, some of the things that he's learned, and share a little bit of what he's doing. And one thing that I'm excited about, though, is that Darin started and launched a podcast only recently, and that podcast is crushing it. Like it's amazing what you've done. Have you gotten into New and Noteworthy, by the way? Did you make it?
Not yet. So the first goal I had was to get a bunch of reviews in Apple Podcasts, and I was hoping that would grab their attention. But so far, we're not on New and Noteworthy. But I've been trying to hit up my social media followers to try to help me get there. So hopefully they will notice at some point.
So I should share this to anybody who's listening and wants to start a podcast. This metric is very important. 0.6% of podcasts. That's less than 1%. That means you're already in the top 1% of podcasts based on ratings and reviews. If you have 100, 0.6% of podcasts have 100 or more ratings and reviews. Darin Batchelder's podcast, the last time I checked, and this was a few days ago, so you might have doubled it, but you were well over 200.
Yeah, we're still a little bit over 200, and I just thank all the listeners, and I thank all the supporting people. I have a lot of people that just want to help me succeed, and I have that heart for other people too, and I know you do as well. Talking to you, the real estate world is full of people that have an abundance mindset that want to help people, and a lot of people stepped up for me, so I really appreciate that.
That's amazing. All right, so tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've partnered in either LP or GP in over 4,000 doors. I'm guessing that's hundreds of millions, $300 million plus dollars of real estate. That's more than most people that have come on the show. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you got into real estate and what attracted you to actually start getting invested in multifamily.
So I've been in the loan trading business since 2002. I was with a top 20 worldwide bank, a Dutch bank called named ABN AMRO from 2002 to 2006. And then I started my own company in 2007. I still have that company. It's focused on trading residential, multifamily, and commercial real estate loans bank to bank. So I've been in that loan trading space for a long time, and I really understood the multifamily asset class, but I hadn't purchased any investment real estate. So it was about 2.5 years ago, and the business was running efficiently, and I had some time, and I just said, I'm going to, put the stake in the sand, and I'm going to buy something. So I went out and bought a duplex. A lot of people kind of start with a duplex or single family. You don't have to do that, but I did. I bought a new construction duplex. And then once I signed the contract on that, it was going to take a year to build. I just realized it was going to take me forever to really build a lot of wealth that way. And so I wanted to go bigger. I went searching for a way to do that, joined a multifamily mentorship group, and then off and running.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, your first ever passive investment. I want you to take me. That was your first syndication. That one was a passive, right? You started passive and then you went active later?
Correct. So I I bought the duplex October 2017, joined the mentorship group in December 2017. January of 2018, I started to invest passively. And so my first passive deal was either January or February of 2018. I did 7 passive deals before getting my first syndication deal. And by no means, for your listeners, do you have to do 7 deals. I just, I really liked the multifamily asset class, even from the loan trading side. And so when I learned how to do this and I met the right partners and the syndicators, I started pulling money out of the stock market and started to reallocate that into multifamily.
And one of the things that we were talking about in the pre-interview, right before we started recording, you said that you really wanted to get this opportunity out in the world. You talked about hitting your 48 years old and kind of almost sad that you didn't know that this existed. So let's just take it there. Tell us a little bit more.
So I'm 50 now, but when I got involved with real estate, it was 2.5 years ago. I was 48 years old, and I've been in a bunch of different careers. I was a CPA at Pricewaterhouse. I sold software for Fortune, to Fortune 1000. I was on the trading desk. I made really good money, and I would have loved, when I was making a lot of money, to have somebody approach me and say, "Hey, Darin, look, I'm putting together this large multifamily deal. Would you want to passively invest in this deal?" And I would have been extremely interested. Obviously, I would have had to get educated on it and the returns and the risk and et cetera. But I did not have one person present that type of opportunity to me. And I've been involved with, nice golf clubs. I've met a lot of wealthy people, and it's just, I don't know. It's just another world. Now, once you get into the multifamily space, it becomes like, it's just given. You get all these emailed offerings to you. But if you're not in that space, you don't get offered. You don't get offered that opportunity. So one of the big things that really has charged me up is I want to get the word out. I want to let more people know. And you've been doing that with your podcast, and you've been doing a fantastic job with that. So I've watched successful people like yourself, and look, I want to mimic that success. And so I wanted to get the word out. And so I just recently launched a podcast as well. I am complete newbie in it, but I'm trying to follow in the path of successful guys like yourself.
Good stuff. And I want to talk about when you were launching that podcast. You did some research, as I understand it. You talked about new and noteworthy a little bit earlier. What I've noticed about you is the opposite of what I've noticed about 99% of podcasters. And I think it's really, really important to bring it out because you really stand alone. There's a reason why your podcast is remarkable and why you've become remarkable. And here's what I think I've seen. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you. I mean, that means a lot coming from you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
I see what I see, and I say what I see. But here's the most important thing that I think that if anybody else is thinking about starting a meetup group or a podcast or writing a book or something like that, then you have really 2 options. And it's unfortunate, but you do. You have option A, be in the 99 percentile, be part of the noise, not get noticed, waste your time and effort doing the thing, and nobody ever will hear it. Or B, be in the top 1%. And when you do that, you gain traction. And it makes your life a little bit easier. It makes your podcast or your book or your meetup a little bit easier. And the difference between the 99 percentile and the top 1 percentile is ready, fire, aim versus ready, aim, fire.
Right.
And what I see a lot of podcasters doing, 99% of them, They just say, I just need to have a podcast. I'm just going to have a podcast. I don't care what it's called. Don't worry about the logo. Don't worry about how I'm going to market it in the beginning. And they jump in and they start and launch a podcast, but like it never gets heard. Nobody ever knows that's a podcast because they didn't spend the time caring about that marketing. And you did it differently. You spent some time calling friends, marketing after you launched it, marketing, even doing a pre-launch, which I teach my clients. I've never seen anyone besides you do a pre-launch. Like you're the only one that I didn't specifically sit down and say how to do this that knew how to do a pre-launch, which means that as you were recording episodes, you were like, hey, I'm going to have the show. Hey, when I have the show, will you like it? Will you subscribe it? Will you listen to it? You started talking about it before it was launched. And everybody else, this is what they do. I want to have a podcast. They record one episode and then they put that episode up but they haven't even recorded the next episode. And they might wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks before they publish another one. And what ends up happening for them, not for you, is they feel like they're behind the 8 ball the whole time. They're always like, man, this podcast is so frustrating. It takes so much time. But I don't think that's the same with you. I think you spent that time to go ready, aim, fire. So can you kind of tell us your process of launching the show?
Absolutely. So one, I hired a consultant, but I didn't know that you had a program. So for your listeners, if you are looking to start a podcast, and you listen to Mr. Adam Adams, call him up so for me, I'll back up just a little bit from, when I got into real estate, I was not on social media at all. I was a, old school business guy. I'm going to fly out and sit across the desk from you and shake your hand. But I'm just dealing with, large institution. When I got involved in real estate, I was told, hey, we got this private Facebook group. You should join. I wasn't even on Facebook, and that's 3 years ago. And so when I did, all of a sudden I saw the power of connecting with people in other geographies that, I could potentially learn from and potentially partner with. And there's just so many different ways to connect. So I started to try to understand it. Okay. So then I was going to a lot of not only real estate conferences, but entrepreneur conferences. And they were telling me, a couple things. I was hearing it over and over and over again. One was, if people don't know your name and don't know what you do, they can't do business with you because they don't know you exist. So it can be uncomfortable at times doing the social media thing because for me, when I first got involved, it really does feel braggadocious, even the podcast, But when you start thinking about the fact why you're doing it and you're doing it to help serve others and to let other people know that you can help them, you could help solve their problems, then your mindset shifts a bit. So I had some big decision points I had to make about a year ago. Somebody was like, look, you have to get on Instagram. And I was like, oh man, that's like a toy that my kids use, it's a picture toy, right? And I didn't realize that people were really doing business on it. And so I went and hired somebody that was successful on Instagram, and he mentored me. And one of the things he told me was, you have to post every day. And I was like, wow, this is going to be really uncomfortable. And it was for probably the first month and a half. But now I have a daily routine where I get up, brush my teeth, go into my office, I sit down, read a chapter of the Bible, pray, and then post to Instagram. So now it's just like commonplace, right? But it felt braggadocious. But then when you have people call you from Chicago or instant message you from Chicago and Las Vegas and Spain and all over the place, you start realizing, you know what? You have to get over the fact that there's some people out there that are going to be judging you because you're out there for the other people that actually you are going to try to help. So one of your questions was strategically, I had to make some decisions. Do I, brand my personal name or do I brand a company name? And again, I went to a lot of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and sought their feedback. And the advice that I got back was, hey, Darin, if you brand your personal name, you could end up having 5 different companies under you. People want to do business with people. And so they need to know who Darin Batchelder is first, and then know the companies that you've formed and how you can help them. So that made sense to me, and that's one of the reasons why I ended up branding it that way.
Love it. Love it. I noticed that you tend to really truly care about just other people, helping other people. And I think that that's a trait that if the listener's not there yet, they ought to try to get to that place where they think of others first. You're a successful person. I mean, your podcast is skyrocketing. You already had that other company that you founded in 2007 that does great. You fly all over trading mortgages, notes, monies, and you do really well. And what I think that what it reminds me of, I don't remember the quote or right now who said it, but if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get whatever you want.
Right.
In life. And that's the part that I think a lot of people neglect. Right here, I can tell that you are starting from the right place. You're coming from the right place. I never once heard you, even in the pre-interview, and I think this is good for the listener to hear it too. I never once heard you say, oh, I started a podcast because I need to raise more money. I started a podcast because I'm going to have a coaching program and I need clients or something like that. You said, I started a podcast because I want to give back and I wish that I had this when I was that age. And I think that I can be the conduit that helps that other person. And when you're that way, when you are truly thinking about the other person first, I can't wait to see what happens to you. You're going to be getting deals like left and right.
I hope you're right, my friend. I hope you're right.
Brokers are going to call you, everything. Like there's so much that's going to come out of this show. Let's switch gears. Tell me at least one thing about you that's not about your podcast, and then we will get into the final 5.
Sure. So I love to play golf. I probably play golf. I try to play golf once a week, and some days I'm better than others, but I always enjoy getting out there with the guys.
So if I told you that I scored a 72, would you be impressed?
Yes, very impressed.
And if I told you that it was on 9 holes, would that change anything?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm kind of a mid 80s to low 90s kind of, maybe mid 80s to mid 90s, depending on the day, type of shooter. So yeah, 72 on 9 would definitely changes the game.
Not good. Not good. So that's about my quality. I can hit them far, like every third time. It's like, how did it go there? And then all the rest, it's like, how did it go behind me?
Yeah, it's a frustrating game. It's a great game, but I love being out there with the guys. I love, having a little bit of wagers on it, and then we end up having some socialization afterwards. And so, you know what, it's a good time to get outside.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's break into the final 5. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode was made possible by Adam's Inner Circle program. This exclusive group is a collection of industry leaders, influencers, passive investors, and strong operators. This is the type of community you want to join, where we come together multiple times each month, virtually and in person. We support each other, invest with each other, and even interview each other on our podcasts, and invite each other to speak at our live events. If you're ready to take your real estate investing to the next level, this is the group for you. Fill out an application today by following the link in the show notes.
And we're back with Darin Batchelder, and with the final 5, number 1, what is a book you recommend?
I'm looking at it right now. It's Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss.
That is so funny. I was just on my Amazon Alexa, or I was on my Audible account, and I saw that come up because I bought a different book, and I was like, maybe I should read that.
Get it.
What
Get
did
it.
you get out of that?
So, I bought it and it sat on the edge of my desk for a while. It's actually kind of an intimidating book because it's a hardcover. It's like, I don't know, 600-700 pages. It looks like it's just a beast. But what it is it's a compilation of all the best kind of podcasts that Tim Ferriss has put together. And he summarized each of the podcasts in like, 2 or 3 pages. So I would, have a cup of coffee in the morning and I would tell my wife, hey, I can't wait to see who are the 3 people I'm going to meet today. And all of a sudden you're reading the book, but it 2-3 pages of, just great minds that have great wisdom to share. And I feel like I'm with them. So all of a sudden in one book, you get access to all these great minds.
Awesome. Love that. What's the biggest win you've had this week?
Biggest win this week. I don't know. I don't know.
Coming on the podcast.
There we go. This show right now. This is it. Absolutely.
What is a challenge that you've recently overcome, though, in your multifamily business?
I had a goal of coming into the new year of getting a 100+ unit deal where I'm the lead. 2 deals where I partner with other experienced syndicators, and I partner as a GP, and then start a podcast. Well, I plan to start the podcast later in the year. What happened was in February, I went hard after a deal. It was like a 210 unit deal, and I thought I was going to win the deal. I ended up being runner-up, and it kind of crushed me for a couple of days. And then I told my kids, you got to get up, you got to pick yourself back up, and so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I looked up to the big man upstairs. What's next? And I got on my phone and looked at, are there other, I don't know how to start a podcast. So is there a podcast conference I can go to? Sure enough, there was one. The next week in Orlando, I bought a ticket, went down, met some great people. I hired a consultant that I met down there, and then I was off and running. So I had to shift my focus. I lost the deal, but then I didn't let it keep me down, and I ended up shifting focus, and it ended up being a good thing because with COVID happening, I had the time at home to really focus on putting together the podcast launch.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Question number 4, what is the one thing that brand new listener, somebody who hasn't done a deal before, what can they do to really make it into multifamily?
I personally think that the first thing anybody that wants to do large-scale multifamily is that you should passively invest in a deal. I learned a lot from my first passive investment. And, it may sound weird to people that have been doing this every day, but I still remember, and financially, I had plenty of capital to do it, but I was still scared. I was still scared to wire the funds. I had met the people. I had great reviews from other people that I've already done business with them, but sending that wire for the first time, in a different type of investment, was nervous, and getting over that hump. But you learn a lot from being a passive investor.
I think that's really sound and sage advice for those who have the capital. They really ought to. I think you can learn a ton about what it feels like to be a passive investor if you've actually been on that side. I know a lot of passive investors, they say that they won't even invest with somebody unless they have invested passively in at least one deal. So I think that's really interesting. Question number 5, let's talk to the experienced investors. They've already been doing it. What do you think they can do to take their business to the next level?
I'm a firm believer of, continually looking up, so look for people that have already gotten to the point where you want to get to. Build relationships with them and ask them how they did it, and rather than try to recreate the wheel.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Darin. I really appreciate you coming on. Please let the listener know the best way that they can find you. I will say, jump on. I've listened to several. I don't think I've listened to every single episode yet, but I've listened to a lot of your episodes on your new show, the Darin Batchelder's real estate investing podcast, right?
Show. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, but it's a long name and you got it. You got most of it.
That's pretty
right?
close.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to say show because this one's called show and I thought I was being unique, but apparently I just copied you. So what I was going to say is, besides them just jumping on and just checking out your incredibly valuable podcast, how can they find you? Maybe if they want to invest with you or just pick your brain.
Sure. So we also launched a website, so you can look at darinbatchelder.com, and also you can connect with me over social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Instagram is probably the best place to connect with me, but I'm on all the platforms.
Awesome. Darin, thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to let you go, but until next time, my friend, think outside the box.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. As a reminder, any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are for accredited investors only. And if you're interested in working with me and my team, then go to realbluespruce.com and click Get on the List. It's that simple. Just click Get on the List to start passively investing. This has been an episode of the Apartment Investing Show with me, Adam Adams. All rights are reserved. And if you haven't done so already, then make sure that you absolutely smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode.